son. And I was like, okay, I gotta go. And I was like walking over here, and then I was grabbing like a soda, and he fucking grabbed me. Like when I turned, he grabbed me, and he started fucking stomping my feet. he fucking just started. He grabbed me around the wrist and just started stomping my fucking feet all hard, dude.
That's hilarious.
This shit, dude.
Oh my god, Usman got the next generation going with the classic maneuvers.
That's that fucking. I can't even remember when I first saw that.
Yeah, the foot stomps kind of like weren't in vogue for a while. Like it was there was a lot of foot stomping happening like around when I first started watching the UFC back in around like 2007, 2008, and by like 2010, I feel like all the foot stomping was all pretty much gone.
I used to remember watching it. It's like, the fuck is that? Like, I'm sure it's probably annoying as hell.
Yeah.
I guess if you took a heel to like the big toe or like the perfect part, but a perfect part of the foot, but I was like, the fuck does that really do, you know?
It just doesn't look very skillful at all. But I could imagine, like, you know, imagine you're in the middle of a fight, you're doing well, and you know everything's working out for you, but you got a little bit of clinch action going, and like you said, your opponent gets you with a heel right to one of your toes, and it breaks your fucking toe, and now you're fighting with a broken toe, dude.
Yeah, it looked like John Jones, your toe all hanging. But I don't think I've ever seen. Have you ever seen anyone just like, fuck? Oh god, damn it, that. I've never heard it in an interview. I've never heard it.
No.
Like, even, except for the Masvidal fight, when Usman fought Masvidal, that's the only time I ever even really, like, it was ever noticeable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen it make guys move their feet. Like, but I've also seen dudes just tank them. Just, like, go ahead and keep stomping on my foot. Like, it doesn't really matter. But by all accounts, anytime I've heard any fighters talk about it, they've kind of brushed them off and been like, yeah, it's more annoying than anything, like you said.
Yeah.
So, it
was just so funny.
No,
it was just hella funny. He just boom, boom, and got me right on the toe with his little foot.
Did your Sacramento Kings do anything historic today? Did they maybe do anything that they haven't done in 20 years?
They won their division, the Pacific Division.
Yeah.
And they beat the Pelicans, too. It was pretty good.
I was just reading about how they haven't...
excited about that.
How about they haven't done that since 2003? And they had a picture of Mike Bibby and Peja Stojakovic, and I was like, oh, shit, that's the team I remember right there.
Dude, you want to know, like, straight up sports fan heartbreak story? I don't know if I've ever told anybody the story, but I used to live in Sac, and I worked at a CVS pharmacy, and Mike Bibby it was like the trade deadline, and everyone was real nervous, like, dang, they're gonna trade him, dude. They're gonna trade him. Like, it was like the end of an era, and he was like the man, right? And it was kind of like turning over to like, okay, it's a real rebuild. It's real if they trade him. And the trade deadline goes until like midnight, right? So nothing happened that whole day. A bunch of guys got traded. Nothing happened that whole day. So everybody's like, damn, wow, he's here. At least we get him for the rest of this year, and he'll probably start the year here next year. So we all go to sleep. I open up the CVS pharmacy the next morning. And then the Sacramento Bee, because we have Fresno Bee, they have Sac Bee over there. Mm-hmm. Sacramento Bee guy delivers it because, like, on the end of the register, they have like a area for the Sac Bee newspaper, right? I was just ringing it out. This little girl was coming with her mom. It was like 6 in the morning, 6:37 in the morning, 7 in the morning or so. This little girl just starts freaking bawling, and I mean, she's like 7 or 6, and the mom looks and she's bawling, looking at it. And I go, what the hell? And I look, and it's on the front cover. They're like, in the middle of the night. It said something like in the middle of the night or something like he's gone and he got traded to the Hawks.
At the 11th hour.
This little 7-year-old girl was freaking, yeah. And then I just remember feeling so sad. And then she like looked at me and I looked at her. And then her mom like shook her head and we're just like, it was just beep, beep. I like beat, I like wring out their yogurt and their orange juice, and like I was like, oh fuck,
Dang.
because it's that city. It was like, because we live in Fresno, so it's like no one gives a fuck. Like everyone likes whatever they like, but like yeah, it was kind of a weird moment because like you're right, it's like blocks away from where those guys play.
Shit.
Where everyone was just so fucking bummed, dude. Like that was their guy for like the longest time.
Did he ever go on to win any championships with any teams, or like what?
No,
what was his peak?
I don't.
Was it the
He
Kings?
had some good years with the Hawks. Yeah, his peak was with the Kings when Ted Donaghy, the corrupt Ted Donaghy, who had a 13-year-old girlfriend while and smoking meth.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but
yeah, he called like this insane amount of fouls and was just straight up. They just straight up screwed the fucking Kings, and then he later went on in under grand jury trial, like federal trial, admitted to that, yeah, the NBA sins, and then like gave the emails and documents over to the FBI, and it's posted, you can find it, I'm not talking shit, that he was told to sway calls for Shaq and Kobe.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Like to not like allow Shaq certain, and then they go certain moves. Shaq does certain things, Kobe will do certain things. Don't call fouls on that. And in NBA, it directly correlates to points. Like a ref's decision can, because of a foul, that's like a free 2 points, or it's not 2 points.
Right.
So
yeah, with free throws, they do have a lot more control over the outcome of the game, right?
Yeah.
That's how it was kind of done in basketball. Because even if a ref is trying to screw over a football team, like, I mean, yeah, they could make a shitty call that's maybe going to cause a turnover or something like that, but they still, the players are still in control of the game. Like you can't make them score a touchdown like once it turns over or something. Right. So,
and for what he said, where he got caught was because he was getting, it wasn't so much like we're doing this this is the outcome we want. But I think they covered their own ass saying like, you know, we're not gonna fucking just straight up tell this fucking methed out cocksucker, that piece of shit, that we're but it was basically like wink wink, like this is, and then they sent like little clips of like, okay, this is what Shaq does, don't call fouls on this, or do call fouls on this. When Kobe does this, that's just give him the foul. And at certain points of the game, they just say call it tighter, and but they didn't say like this is the outcome we want, but they gave them like a list of instructions. Where he got fucked up was he knowingly doing this ahead of time, he was betting and tipping off bookies and other people and getting an insane amount of money. And there's like there's tons of documents and shit about it.
Wow.
And, there's even documentaries about it. Yeah, Ted Donaghy.
I feel like I opened up a real can of worms there asking about that.
It's pretty fucked up, and it really discredits a lot. And there's a whole list of it too. Like there's like a conspiracy against like Allen Iverson. There's a lot like but they kind of it's just crazy how it doesn't get really covered, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why we have to cover it. That's why we got to start that original idea of a podcast we had where, like sports crimes and stuff. And
yeah. Like the Fresno State basketball team.
Yes.
Like back when we were kids, like how that was just straight up like New York guys that were like 28.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have not heard that story. I thought you were going to tell that other story that you had told me at Rodell's house one time about how like a coach was trying to bribe a kid to come and play for the team. Oh, that's
There's the And One mixtape. A lot of people don't realize the And One mixtape was a huge deal back in the day, right? Do you remember those?
I recall. I mean, I didn't watch any of them, but yeah, I remember that being a thing.
So Jerry Tarkanian, who was the coach of, and just to go back, like I know we just like glossed, like I just fucking straight up fucking said NBA is pretty much rigged. So check this out. But no, like if you're listening right now, go to and just look up Ted Donaghy. It's Donoughy, I think it is, and federal, like, basically, and like the NBA tries to discredit him. Well, he's on drugs and he was on meth and he was this and that, but he straight up screwed like the early 2000 Kings out of winning, because they were like one of the greatest basketball teams that was ever assembled. Dude, it was fucking insane. They're crazy.
Tim Donaghy.
Tim Donaghy, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why I say Ted.
Donaghy.
Yeah.
Yep. Caught in a gambling scandal during his career in the NBA. Officiated 772 regular season games and 20 playoff games. Pretty gnarly. That's pretty infamous. Yeah, we're almost a basketball podcast at this point.
Yeah, no,
right?
but I want to go back to the Fresno State thing just real quick.
Go.
Just because like we did have the conversation. Like the whole reason we have the podcast is basically stems from this conversation.
That was the seed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jerry Tarkanian, who was a famous coach from UNLV, came to Fresno after he had a pretty crazy scandal himself at UNLV. After a few years off, came to Fresno State, like where he was from, and was coaching. And he was getting these players that were just insane, dude. And we used to go watch Sound Arena live. It was fucking wild. These guys were amazing, dude. And he had like Rafe Ralston came. I know it was like Terrence McCullough came. Tremaine Folks, like all these guys, dude. It was just like, how are you getting these guys? Melvin Ely, like, how are you getting these guys to come here, dude? And his son Danny Tarkanian, who was like part of the recruiting, he was like an assistant helper, student assistant, and he would play in the Rucker Island or Rucker Park like summer league, where like it's just crazy. Like NBA players play there in the summer, like especially back in the 90s, it was just insane. And so he would go and he saw like Rafe Ralston. He's like, what the fuck? Who is this kid? This kid's insane. And he was just amazing. Then he goes and tells him, he's like, hey, where did you play high school? He's like, I couldn't. And then he's been playing Rucker Park against like legit pros and like men that were like NCAA level, like fucking savages, and was just balling them up. The videos are insane. And he had no eligibility to play in high school, so they got him in. Danny Tarkanian got him into JUCO. He played a couple years. He's like, go a couple years JUCO. They were giving him money to do it. Like, here's some cash, allegedly. Here's some cash. Get yourself an apartment. Fucking play JUCO. Get your eligibility. We'll transfer you here, and then you're good. So he did, and he was just fucking absolutely amazing. He got drafted. He went to the NBA. He played with like the Magic. He played with the Raptors. He played on a few different teams. Absolutely awesome. But there was one player who was on the And One mixtape, and then there was like, I used to watch the And One mixtape. There was a show on ESPN. Like they used to follow him like behind the scenes, and I used to watch it. And they had this episode that was like a lost episode. And they did like they were interviewing the players, and they're talking about like, oh well, why are you on that one mixtape? Like, why aren't you fucking at least in the NCAA? And one guy goes, well, I was gonna play in Iona, but my girlfriend got pregnant, and so I just was kind of just chilling here. I sold drugs, blah blah. And then I played in Rucker Park, and then a motherfucker named Danny Tarkanian, and I like my ears like perked up, and I was like, okay, well, where are we going with this? He's like, this motherfucker. He comes up to me talking. He's got a fucking Rolex on. He's got this. He's got that. He tells me, "Hey, yo, we're at Fresno State. We got Rafe Ralston's here." I looked it up. They were fucking ranked, which they were. They're ranked. I think they got up to like 10, like in the top 10.
What year was this again? I'm sorry.
This was like in the late 90s.
Oh, okay.
This is like the late 90s. I want to say like from like 95 to like 02, 03. They're fucking sad. And Courtney Alexander went on to play with Michael Jordan and the Wizards. Fucking NCAA scoring records. Fuck, savage. But so Alamo, the guy's name was he's a Black Widow or Alamo, one of them. And he's like, so this motherfucker comes up to me, he gives me a wad of cash and says, are you down to come to Fresno State? And I say, fuck yeah. My girl, I had a baby, the shit was running dry, it was cold, We needed to keep the heat on, blah, blah, blah. So I took the money back to my girl. The guy calls me and says, "Are you down?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, I need a ticket for me and my girl because we're both coming to Fresno." He goes, "Okay." And then he goes, "And I want that watch." So Danny Tarkanian gave him the watch, gave him the thing. The tickets show up to his apartment. He sells both the tickets, moves into an apartment, and then buys like a little bit of like Coke, cooks it up, and then flips it, and then keeps playing street ball. And then I was just like, dang, dude, like, that was my team, dude. As a kid, we used to go to Sound Arena and get wild. It was fucking one of the craziest stories ever, dude.
And did Tarkanian tried to, or like he reached out to him to try and get the money back or something? And what was this?
Yeah, so it was something like, he said, I can't remember it perfectly, but at the time when I told you the story, it was like super fresh on my mind. I'll have to look back at it, but he told him something like, yeah, he like punked him. He goes, "Oh, I need another ticket because my girl's coming." So then he even tricked out and got another ticket, and then he fucking sold that one too. Like traded that one in too.
Yeah, because I recall you telling the story.
2001. That was before TSA, where you could just do that. Like plane tickets, you could just give them to whoever. Nowadays, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't do that. You gotta have your ID. If you're gonna switch names, you can't just like last minute switch. Back then in the late 90s, it was like, dude, okay. Well,
yeah, and how was he? And like, what was Jerry Tarkanian to even do at that point? Like, go and complain, "Oh, this player that I bribed didn't follow through with this." Like, he's fucked. That you lost that.
That's what he said. That's what the guy said. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, you're fucked, pizza.
Such a scandal. We're a podcast about everything now. We might.
I have another story about it. A quick one, if you want to hear it. It's pretty crazy.
Go.
Might implicate them. Okay. So,
who are we implicating?
No, the players. Fuck them.
This following story is all alleged.
No, this is 20 plus years ago. So my cousin won the lottery, right?
Oh, like, God.
Millions. $22 million, right? Shout out to him, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. But his whole thing, and it went exactly how you would think it would go. But at the time, it was pretty cool. And he was very generous, right? And so he went into, do you remember Mervin's?
Yeah.
Was it Mervin's? In Fresno? And he goes into Mervin's, and then he's like, he would just go buy like polo sweaters and shit. And then he saw, I won't name the guy's names, but they were at the time, they were like the biggest, like the three biggest players. And he sees them looking at some shit, and then he goes, "Hey, like, well, what's up, guys? Like, I'm a season ticket holder, blah, blah." He was a season ticket holder. He used to take me to a lot of the games. And they're like, "Oh shit, what's up, man?" And then he goes, "What, you guys looking at these? You guys like these?" He's like, "I got a couple for myself." And they're just like, "Yeah, they're pretty sick." So my uncle's like, "You gonna get some?" They're like, "Oh, we don't really got it like that." And my uncle was balling. Like, he had fucking the fucking rollie with the fucking matching wrist, and he was just iced out. Fucking Mexican dude from Selma. And he fucking peels them off like each a couple hundred. He's like, "You guys," he said he wasn't even thinking about it. He just like, because he was just like that.
Just let him know.
Back in the day,
yeah,
he was like that with me. He'd be like, "Hey, go get me a soda," and then he'd give me 100, and I'd come back with his change. Like, "You keep it." So he was just like that type of dude, right? So he gave them each like a couple hundred, and then they go, "Oh shit, I was gonna get this too." And he goes, "Oh, you're gonna go get shoes?" So he gave him like another couple hundred. So he pretty much handed out like $1,500. And this was back in the day before ATM card. It was all cash.
Jesus.
So he just like handed it all to them, and they were like, he said that he didn't realize what he did until they started looking around like, "Oh fuck." They started like looking around like, "Holy shit, dude." And then they fucking took it, and then like he took his shit to the register and got it, and then on the way he's like, "All right, guys, see you later." And they're like, yeah, see you later, bro. Like,
should probably ask for an escort to your car now, but
all three of these guys ended up in the NBA. One won a title with the Spurs, but he basically committed NCAA. That's a crime. Like, that's like hell against and not even that, dude. What's even worse was he did this thing where he paid the Bulldog Foundation like this insane amount of money, and so he basically had an open ticket to. any Fresno State game he wanted to go to, he could go to, because he had paid so much to the Bulldog Foundation that he can just go to any game. And then he, like, certain games he could pay, he could get like better tickets, right? So like he didn't want the water polo tickets, but he wanted hella good basketball tickets, so he would like move them around. So he was literally a donor paying fucking players, but he did it without knowing. This is something that's like standard practice, like it's to the not so much to, probably still to this day, but like even to this day, like guys have gotten an insane amount of trouble, like doing that. And
because college players aren't supposed to be getting any money from anywhere at all, right?
Yeah, too.
Hell
no. And he just handed them each like $500-600 and was like, all right guys, we'll see you Tuesday night, fucking beat UTEP. And they're like, hell yeah, dude, we'll see you there, dog. And then he just dipped out, and he said he didn't realize it was fucking what he was doing was bad until fucking they fucking did that, like, oh, their like shoulders went up and they're like, oh fuck. They like looked around like, who's looking at me?
Not the direction I thought that story was going to go in at all, dude. See, when you were telling me that he just started handing money to some guys in Mervyn's, I didn't catch that they were basketball players, or what were they, basketball players? Yeah. You said the Spurs.
Two of them were all Americans.
Jesus.
One of them won a title with Tim Duncan, and like
the San Antonio Spurs.
And San Antonio Spurs.
Gosh.
And then, like, had a good run with the Clippers too.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna tell me that they ended up mugging him because they saw his wad of cash in the parking lot or something.
Why would they?
Well, because I didn't when you were telling the story, I didn't gather that they were the basketball players. I thought they were just some guys that he saw at Mervyn's that were like, oh, you wanted to buy some stuff? Here's some money. And I was like, oh fuck.
No, these guys were like legit fucking savved out basketball players.
Man, that's funny.
We saw them at a tailgate one time, and then like they remembered my uncle, and so he's like, oh, blah blah. So then they came up to me. They were fucking lit, dude. They were just like, oh shit, what's up? And then now I know what that smell is. I was like, dang, those guys were fucking blown, dude.
Oh man,
good times, dude. Good times.
All right. So let's get into some news, some current news in the MMA world, since we're all-reaching podcast now. We're covering many different topics, and soon, potentially, we might even be a pro wrestling podcast, Brandon, because worlds are colliding in the world of mixed martial arts. What were you doing? Did you sniff something on camera? What? I can't hear you. Your volume. I still can't hear you.
You just hear my keys all jangling. No.
Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, so it just dropped.
If you were here, dude, you'd get one too. Oh, you know, I'm not like that, talk.
Well, I just took a drug test yesterday for some new employment. Yeah, Endeavor purchases, or at least purchases most of the WWE. So there's now a new merger, and the UFC and the WWE will both be owned by Endeavor Properties. I don't even know what the actual name is, or what they're considered, LLC. And Dana,
man, looking like a straight up fucking 1960s Batman villain.
He was looking like Chente, dude. Who told him to use that mustache? Like, you're going out of your way to look sleazy when you do that with your mustache. That's a fucking look right there, man.
That was like,
that's burned into my retinas too. I can't.
That's like you just couple of daggers, look up at yourself, and like you look over in like a seedy bathroom, like hotel room bathroom mirror, and you're just like, oh yeah. You're just like gonna go do some tax evasion, dude.
So now the new company that or conglomerate that they are forming between both entities is going to be valued at $21 billion. The UFC.
That's fucking wild. Dude.
The UFC's value was $12 billion. So that means they've tripled their value since they were purchased, and originally purchased by Endeavor for $4 billion. And the WWE rang in at $9 billion, so $21 billion combined. And it's, you know, this is still just all a money move. It's not clear how this is going to impact like the product, or if anything's going to look any different. And at least for us who, you know, I was going to say primarily watch the UFC, but I don't think either of us watch pro wrestling. But no, it's definitely got the fucking MMA Twitter sphere.
Not Chris Benoit.
He was one of my favorite wrestlers. I'm not even saying that to be funny or anything like that.
He was, dude.
Yeah.
He was, dude. Like, come on, dude. Chris Benoit was the man. Like,
he was the shit. Yeah.
Separate the art from the artist, dude.
When he would do the three like belly to back suplexes in a row, like that was amazing.
Dude,
yeah,
that was amazing. That was my move on like what was it, like 64? Right? Remember they had like WWE 64? That was my move, dude.
Yeah. Heartbreaker when we lost Benoit in those circumstances.
My team was him and Psychosis. My fucking like the N64. He was like the luchador with like the devil horns.
Oh, I don't remember Psychosis.
Because I think back on like N64, and I could be wrong, but it was like one of the games where you could pick a like tag team partner. You couldn't pick like Benoit and like someone else all badass. You had to like level it out. You couldn't like have so Psychosis was still pretty fucking badass. So fucking but Benoit and Psychosis, it just matched, you know what I mean, like the level.
Psychosis, are you sure Psychosis wasn't some like created character that your cousin made or something?
No,
I don't remember Psychosis. That shouldn't surprise me at all though. Like Psychosis, like of course that's a pro wrestling name, but
it was a Mexican one too. He was like a luchador.
Oh, okay. That's starting to ring some bells. Now, yeah, I was thinking he was probably in the WCW before or something, right?
Yeah, Dionisio Castellanos Torres.
Such a Mexican name. Dionisio?
Psychosis, yeah.
All his friends call him Nicho.
Oh, dude. He looks like his style now would be... Dang, dude. Hell yeah, bro.
So
fucking Psychosis. You should have kept that mask on, big boy. Goddamn.
Did you have a wrestling phase? Like, were you ever into pro wrestling?
For just enough to where like I knew enough so I could wear the DX shirt and like see my homies in 6th grade be like, suck it.
Discount double check. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I was just enough to fucking go. I would like put the hand up, the one hand down, and in the hallway like, suck it.
Dude, I still have intrusive thoughts to this day of just hitting people with the suck it. Like I do
that. Yeah, I do know. I do. I did that at work. This guy, he was brand new. And like he didn't know me at all. He just knew me as like the owner's son. So I'm just like walking through like all serious white man too. Like, and then I just go, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And then he looked at me and he's like, "Oh, okay." And it's like loud in the shop. And then I just go, "Suck it," and like walked. Like just no context, dude. We weren't joking. That was probably like the 3rd word I said to him, dude.
Yeah.
I like walked away.
Okay, so we have like very similar brains then, because at this job that I'm at now, this new job, so we're out in this like yard. It's a pipe warehouse. There is a guy who's like situated nice, like dude. 50 yards from me.
Can I get a shirt that just says like pipe warehouse?
There's a guy who's situated like 50 yards from me, just cutting pipe like on a different machine. Wow. And awesome. And like once in a while, like he'll look over and I'll see him or whatever. And I've only maybe said like 2 words to this guy also, but I wanted to hit him with the fucking suck it just because.
The Hunter House Homes.
And I'm gonna let the intrusive thoughts win one of these days, very soon, man. Because that's just how I make friends, dude. But he's not our generation though, so I don't know how that's gonna go over. I'm pretty sure he's like 10 years younger than us, so he's probably not gonna have.
I thought, yeah, dude, exactly. I thought he was, but he looked old though, as hell. And he's like, "Oh, I'm 24," and I was like, "Dude, you're shot the fuck out. I thought you were my age, dude." He looked older than me, so I thought like this was for sure gonna know. this guy kind of looked like Psychosis, dude, without the mask on. And so like I for sure thought like, homie's gonna know if I do this real quick. Hey fool, what's up? Suck it. And then he's all, okay. And
yeah,
like, you don't
dude.
know what that is? And he's like, no, I don't. And then like I showed it to him on my phone. He's like, oh, okay. I go, wait, how old are you? He's like, I'm 24, dude. And I was like, jeez.
See, like I think if you do the suck it to pretty much anybody under 30, maybe like 31, yeah. They're not gonna know what the fuck is up.
It's crazy. Be a real hardcore WWE guy.
It's crazy though, because after that, like to look back and to think about, well, like the kids were basically doing this fucking suck my dick motion to people, like yeah, that's hilarious. And then
I got in hella trouble for that. I bought a DX shirt and it just said DX because they had some of them that said suck it, like straight up, right? And I took a DX shirt to school and I was rocking and everyone's like, fucking sick, dude. Fuck yeah. And I was all, what's up, dude? What's up, dude? Fucking Spencer's, yeah. And then my mom was like, yeah, I'll buy it for you. And then, because it was like, it was just DX, it just said DX. What does that stand for? I was like, Generation X?
Yeah.
Generation X? And she's like, oh, okay, cool. And then she's like, there you go. And so like I remember I was just strutting, dude. And then one of the teachers like, no, absolutely not. Go to the, and I was just like, I didn't even do it. And then, so then my mom goes, okay, well, what is it? So like, you couldn't like look it up back then. So
of course.
We like waited, and then like Monday Night Raw came on, and then she saw it, and like they came out, and they're just like, fucking suck it, fuck you. And then they like slammed some old lady to the table. She's like, you fucking bought this shit? Fucking China just fucking flexing on motherfuckers. It's like, you're weird, dog. You're weird. And then the oddities came out. She's like, dude, you're fucking weird, bro. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I don't watch wrestling anymore.
Oh my god, I don't want to steal Mike's story, but
Okay.
you know Mike though, a little bit. He's a super reserved guy, but when during the Attitude Era, you know how The Rock used to have his saying like, know your role and shut your mouth.
Yeah, jabroni. That's where jabroni comes from. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, he was telling me this story about like when he was in grade school, like maybe like 5th grade or something like that, where some girl in class was being annoying, and so he was like, know your role and shut your mouth, and the whole class popped off. And now just thinking about like that nowadays, like could you imagine your daughter just being told know your role and shut your mouth by some kid in class, and the whole fucking everyone just thinking it's a riot, man. Oh man, that's so fucking hilarious.
Shit, dude, I wish fucking one kid fucking told everybody, dude, because like Roblox, right?
Yeah.
You know what that game is? It's like,
I mean, I'm not super familiar with it, but
you can like code your own shit into Roblox, right? Like you can make your own games and like kind of like do your own themes and shit, right? It's like open source, like you can do whatever you want, right?
Oh, okay.
So this kid made his own like theme thing, and he got his dad's dick pics and like put it on there, and like gave everybody fucking the Roblox like invite, and he's like, dude, you should come on my theme park. And so like on the theme park, like we made jokes where like they had like aliens like doing surgery on Elvis as like the ride art. His right art was his dad's dick pics he found and like uploaded on the computer and created like a Roblox fucking theme. And so he fucking told my daughter that, and then my daughter's like, bro, what? And like everyone was like laughing, and then she just like doesn't like that shit, so she like went to the teacher and was like, dude, this guy said if I want to see his dad's dick I should go on Roblox.
Oh no, dude.
And like that dude got hella caught up, dude.
Oh my
and then
god.
And then I remembered the kid's name. The like principal's like, yeah, like
don't say his name,
like,
but
we didn't.
No.
My daughter goes, yeah, dude. So this is the kid's name. He's fucking weird. And I was like, it sounds weird. I'm sorry, babe. Like, I'm sorry, you had to deal with that. So we went to like back to school night, and like I remembered his name. So like I saw the kid's name like written on a pencil, and then I look, and the dad is like some 5'3" chode wearing fucking overalls, and I was like, dang, dude, that guy's cock's on Roblox, dude. What the fuck?
I'm just thinking how much you have to have fucked up already for your kid to have your dick pics. Like, dude,
uploaded on Roblox, and he's giving the homies fucking the link on.
And that could only mean that he was either incredibly proud of it, or just like ridiculing it, basically. Like, just
I don't know, because they're only like 10, so it's like I don't. But
that's a fucking doozy, dude. Fuck.
Because like it's kind of like we know where we're from, so it's like a mixed culture school. You know what I mean? You got like the lower class, and then you got middle class. You got migrant. You know, it's just which makes the area we live pretty.
I'm sure
awesome.
We still get Aggies from up in the fucking mountains and shit too.
So and then my daughter's just like middle class kid, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the other kids were just like, that's weird. But my daughter's just like, that's off. Like, that's a crime. And so she like went and told her. She like blew the whistle on him, and it was hella funny. The kid was like all mad at like her, and it's like, nah, dude, like, wait till you grow up, dude. Like, fuck. And I told her straight up, like, stay the fuck away from that kid, dude.
That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. I'm thinking of, now I'm thinking about it from the dad's perspective too, because it's like, dude, because I mean, I was already, and then he showed it to other kids. He exposed you to chill. Oh God, Jesus! All right.
We still showed up to after this. We still showed up to fucking back to school night, dude. Did not speak English.
Okay, let's circle back to MMA and this pro wrestling thing. What was the last thing? Okay, I also had a little bit of a pro wrestling phase. They had me for like maybe about 3 years, from around 99 to 2001.
Same. Dude, we were straight up same.
Yeah, I think it was like I was from like 10 to 13ish or 12ish. And
fucking Goldberg was fucking badass. Remember him? Just like, who's next, all that shit.
Yeah. Haven't been back. I've tried to watch wrestling later, in more recent years. I just can't watch it.
It's
a rough watch, man. And I hear
grown men just like in the stands with belts around their base and shit. Just like chugging a Miller, and you're just like, bro, what happened? Like, what happened to you?
And I would like to be into it, honestly. I think just to have something to watch every week. And we'll get into why I think that's a big value play for them, like getting together with the UFC and what that might mean for them in terms of landing TV deals in the future, like as a package. But yeah, I can't watch the actual product. I'm into like pro wrestling lore. Like I like pulling up, I like pulling up interviews of like retired wrestlers and being like, oh yeah, well all that shit was happening.
Ramon,
my life was like
I wasn't into it when they were getting down. I saw Kevin Nash and Razor Ramon when it was like WWE. They're like NWO.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, who are these jabronis? You know what I mean? And then like you look back and you're like, fuck, those guys were fucking tight. Maybe I'm the jabroni.
Yeah, dude, I totally wish I would have appreciated the NWO when that was happening. And also too, like I'm always also hearing that like WCW was whipping the WWF's ass back then in ratings, and I'm just like, what fucking loser was watching WCW, dude? Like the WW, but I think the Attitude Era had already kicked in by the time I was thinking that. I think that this deal, and seeing Vince come through with that fucking little stash, and knowing how Dana is, and how Dana likes to fucking push his bad boys and stuff in the UFC, like I think this could be a return to form, of a return of the Attitude Era in pro wrestling in a way.
Did you see fucking
Vince is all sexual assaulted out? Sorry.
Well, Brendan Schaub was on his pod like talking shit about like, oh, like these guys should be fucking canceled. Like, how dare anyone give these guys a platform, let alone billions of dollars? Like, hey, bro, you sit next to Chris D'Elia and Brian Pillman every fucking day. Like, what the fuck? For like 35K views. These guys are doing like fucking $250 billion deals, and then you're over here saying like they should. I hate cancel culture, but they should cancel them. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, man. This is going to be interesting, though, because the UFC still has a deal in place with ESPN for, I think, another 2 years. And apparently the WWE still has a deal with NBC, Comcast, Peacock, or whatever it is, their conglomerate, for another year.
It's Universal, right? And they've been doing that for a long time, because it was like USA Network. When I used to watch, it was on USA.
Yeah, I remember when it was on like TNT, I think, for a little bit. So when
WCW was TNT, and then
Turner
WWE was UFC.
You're right. But it's going to be really interesting to see, like, when both of their TV deals are up, and when, like, who they could potentially go to ink a deal with, or maybe WWE also just goes to ESPN, but that kind of seems like a weird fit, like pro wrestling on, being covered by ESPN. But they're going to be able to demand a big chunk of fucking cash, a lot of capital for their product, for any network to be able to be like, all right, we have both like UFC and WWE. And I think about like the deal that Amazon made, or Jeff Bezos, or I don't know, with the NFL for Thursday night football games, where they paid them like $1 billion or something just for certain Thursday games. I don't know if it was every Thursday game of the season, but that's a fucking all of them. Okay, so $1 billion for 16 games, which aren't even the most popular games. Like, no one gives much of a fuck about the Thursday games generally. So the idea that the UFC and the WWE combined can give any network or streaming platform weekly content, like 52 weeks a year, there will be a Raw and a SmackDown, and very likely a fight night or a payper-view, on the Saturday also too. And that's not even including the WWE's pay-per-views. Like, they're going to be coming to a fuck ton of money. Because, I mean, we talked about that $21 billion figure, and that's just what they're valued at. That's not necessarily meaning they have $21 billion of capital to go around and pay fighters or to go throw that money around. But when they sign a TV deal or something, like, some people are saying, like, they could probably do something with Apple at that point, because Apple wants to make a really big move at expanding their catalog of content for streaming, and that would, like, certainly be a big feather in their cap, because I don't think they have any sports right now. Apple
has baseball.
Do they?
Okay. Do a shitty fucking job at it.
That was a big emphasis on that shitty. Okay, so I stand corrected on that, but room to grow. I think that is. I think there's a lot of people talking about, like, obviously, what kind of crossover appeal is there going to be? Are we going to see MMA fighters go over and fuck around and cut promos in pro wrestling? What do you think? Like, what would be your ideal outcome from this kind of deal?
Valerie Lareda gets to come back to the UFC. That would be cool. Because what is she, like, Lola Vice or whatever? I don't even follow wrestling, but I know that.
Oh, she's doing pro wrestling now?
Yeah, Valerie Lareda is. We're in Miami so it's only fitting to talk about her. But yeah, she's in WWE now. She's like a vixen or whatever they call.
Just throating all the talent. Well, good for her. I didn't realize that she was doing pro wrestling now. I'd like to see how that's going for her.
I would like to check out the talent over there.
I think, who do you think wins in this deal? Like, who do you think has the bigger come up, the UFC or the WWE? Like, from any angle, you think? Okay.
Just because WWE wrestling as a whole has such a far, like, a cataloged history, whatever that history is, it's like throwing old ladies through chairs and Rikishi and, like, fucking, like, that shit's weird as hell, Gold Dust or whatever, but it's like cataloged history, like, goes way farther back than the UFC does, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently they share a lot of the same viewership demographics, very similar age range, like males, so something like 18 to 34 age range, but I think since the WWE appeals a lot more to younger, like kids basically, I think that that is going to expose the UFC to another market of another age range of people who probably wouldn't necessarily go and watch the UFC just yet because they're teenagers or really young, but if they're watching pro wrestling and then they start to see UFC content along with that, and that's going to turn them on to mixed martial arts. And so I think I agree with you. I think that the UFC has more to gain from this. And
Ken Shamrock and Bobby Lashley were walking so that Connor can run.
I was reading an interview with this guy Nick Khan, who runs the WWE, who's been running it like since Vince McMahon left, and they asked him like what does this deal like, how does it benefit them? And he specifically said government subsidies, which I thought was kind of out of nowhere, but let me see, I'm looking for the part where he specifically said like what they get out of it. And he also said performance centers, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I made me wonder like what the UFC kind of has that the WWE doesn't, in terms of like, or how those performance centers help the WWE. Because I know that the UFC has performance centers around the world basically, and they're trying to open up new ones, but I'm curious like how that benefits them, like if it's a resource for their wrestlers or what, because they're always on the road. The WWE, they're like just constant. If anything, I almost feel like that whole Apex thing that the UFC did, something like that would probably benefit the WWE a lot more, where they kind of
WWE, from what I remember, was still running shows during COVID in like warehouses, right? And everyone was like, "Oh shit!" Like there's no fans there. It's just like two dudes and a ref.
Yeah, they were doing stuff on like sound stages and stuff, basically, where it was a lot more cinematic. And yeah, I think when they did that, I thought that was. I'm surprised they didn't pull a UFC and try and stick with that a little bit more, because it must just be a whole lot more headache making this entire roster of pro wrestlers have to be on the road constantly and traveling and being on this traveling circus, basically.
A built-in infrastructure for that, like where it's kind of like it would almost be harder to get away from that. As like it probably sounds a lot easier in theory when you think about it, but their whole infrastructure, the whole way they do everything, is probably based on, and like a lot more people would probably lose jobs, and like there'd be no need if they just were doing it from sound stages and behind green screens and shit, you know?
I think they really have to make sure that they get those motherfucking t-shirts out there, because it's still such a merch driven business. So that they want to get into new cities and have the kids come and then have the merch booths and everything. And I think that's a big important part of how they make their money, for sure. But anyways, yeah, we're just speculating at this point. We don't know how this is going to turn out, and we are 48 minutes in and we haven't even talked about UFC 287. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. So anyways, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I was listening to all the different talking heads around the MMA media space about like what this could potentially mean.
So now Ariel can't even go to a fucking WWE fucking event either.
He insists that he doesn't work for the WWE, so he's not worried about it at all, but who knows. All right. Some of that stuff's not going to play out for a while anyway. So let's mosey on over to talking about UFC 287, which is the pay-per-view. Pereira versus Adesanya 2 going down this weekend. Technically, Pereira versus Adesanya 4, but different combat sports. We have Gilbert Burns versus George Masvidal on the card in the co-main event. An exciting bantamweight fight. Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez, Kevin Holland, Santiago Ponzinibbio, the return of Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. This is a very, very stacked, very solid main card. I'm stoked for it. Let's start at the very top. Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya. What kind of adjustments do you think Adesanya is going to have to make here? Did you think Adesanya was winning the first fight? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer question. Yeah,
he was running away and trying to hide because he's a very good point fighter. He's winning by points, and that's what he was doing.
Are you I'll just get straight to the meat of it. Are you picking Alex Pereira?
Adesanya by decision.
Okay. See,
my wallet is betting Israel Adesanya by decision. My heart wants to watch him get dragged out of there and just like, see you later. I want Pereira to win so bad. But like, if you put a gun to my head and said, who's going to win, by how, like, in what way, I'm saying Adesanya by decision.
Mm-hmm. It's still so wild to me that, I mean, he should be, but it's wild to me that Israel Adesanya is still the favorite. I'm looking on Tapology right now, and they have him as a minus 145 as a slight favorite. Alex Pereira plus 120. So it's pretty close. It's not like a crazy range, as far as the odds go. But at the end of the day, he's down 3 in combat sports. And yeah, it's hard to picture him going the distance. I feel like he's got to come out there and have a plan or a game plan to be a little bit more offensive and to kind of push the pace a bit more and try and get Alex Pereira out of there, because giving Alex Pereira 5 rounds to work, which is the mistake that he made in the first fight. I think he's too dangerous and he has too much power in that left hand. And I also kind of have to wonder, like, where Israel Adesanya's head is at coming into this fight, coming off of a loss, losing to this guy for the 3rd time in his career in combat sports. I'm not like, it doesn't really feel like a situation where I want to say like, oh, Alex Pereira has his number, because I don't believe that. I'm with you, where I thought Israel Adesanya was winning that fight comfortably. The first fight, we had mentioned before about how he almost had him out of there. Like, he had him in trouble at the end of the first round, I believe it was, where 10-15 more seconds and Israel Adesanya is getting his hand raised, and we're talking about a first round finish. But
pretty close to the Usman Edwards kind of deal. Except at least that one fight where it was just kind of like a Hail Mary type thing, and then now they're fighting again, and so there's that mental. For me, I want to, and I'm rooting for a crazy left hook to just fucking end this guy's career. Not so much end his career, but kind of like turn him into a bridge, you know what I mean? Like, he's fighting guys you're trying to get over on Adesanya to get the strap, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting to me how, like, I'm not super invested in either outcome for Adesanya, because he has already cleaned out a whole lot of this division with some of the more interesting potential title challengers. So I like the idea of him fighting down in the division, and not just being locked into a trilogy with Pereira, because I feel like that's something that we might end up seeing, especially if Adesanya finishes Pereira. They're just going to run it back, because the UFC has no imagination. They're just going to do it for the 3rd time, and I think
they would have to, though. They kind of would have to, though, if he does finish him. If it's a point fight win, do you think I think either way, if Adesanya wins, they're going to just have a 3rd one. Yeah,
I could see that either way. Yeah, they likely go for the trilogy. I think that if Adesanya doesn't win, it's a tough one, because I don't necessarily think that he can immediately go up to 205. And I think one of the more interesting fights for him that is not, a title fight, like if he drops this fight, I mean, it would be great to see him fight Dricus, but at the same time, I think the UFC says, oh no, we're going to put Dricus in there with Pereira. We're going to get work Dricus into a title shot too. So he's not necessarily going to, he might not be there for Adesanya if Adesanya comes up short in this fight with Pereira. It's a fascinating fight. I just think that, I thought you pulled a gun out of nowhere. I'm not used to seeing your mic in the fucking shot. I was like, whoa, what is happening right now? It's like, I'm sorry, my breakdown of this fight's so fucking boring, dude. So I think my prediction, I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. I think he's got something, and I think that he's also not going to come out and and just expect the fight to go exactly the same way. I mean, he seems like a simple dude, you know what I mean? So it might be easy to assume that he's just going to come out and be like, yes, we're just going to run this back and it's going to play out exactly the same way. But I have to believe that he intends to have a different look in this fight and bring a different pace to the fight. Do you think Israel Adesanya tries to wrestle? Do you think he tries to get it done that way?
No, I don't think so. I think he might shoot to like level change and put it on Pereira's mind as a decoy, like to get in, maybe get a different angled strike. But I don't think he's going to do it as like a mainstay. He's not going to pull a Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, if that makes sense. I just don't think he has, like, dang, this is going to sound hella like racist, but like, have you ever seen that meme where like, we do not have the capacity? Is that what it is? Like, or we do not, what is that? Do you see you know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
That African guy's like, we do not have the capacity. And he's just like crying. I'll have to send that to you. But yeah, he doesn't, he's a little light in the ass to wrestle. Because like Francis kind of had the build to do that where, you know, and certain strikers like GSP was like a striker karate type dude, but he had the build to be a wrestler. Adesanya just doesn't have that build. He doesn't have that bend. He doesn't have that. He's like, you don't see wrestlers like him at all, grapplers at all, even like Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys like him at all. So I just doubt that if he even wanted to do it, that's why it looked as weird as it did when they did it, because neither of these guys really have that build. They're built for
striking. Yeah. His physique, his frame is it's for striking. Like you're right about how you don't really see the way that these guys look, and seeing, you know, a wrestling background from these shape of guys. But I did think he was pretty successful with it. Honestly, if I'm a big Israel Adesanya fan, like if I'm a fucking Izzy stan, I'd want him to wrestle. I think he can do it. I think that Poatan looked bad enough in the few exchanges or the instances where they were on the ground in their first MMA fight, that I think that Israel Adesanya should lean on that a little bit more. But there might be some caveats there that I'm not considering, and that might be the conditioning to try and be a wrestler for across 5 rounds. Also, like, I think if the opportunity presents itself and he does find himself in a scramble and he's able to get top position, I think he should take advantage of it. But there is also the risk that he's just not used to. Even if he does do that, he's not used to the pace and the conditioning, or just feeling his body wrestle and having to use those muscles in a different way. So, if you're not a wrestler and you try to be a wrestling, bring a wrestling heavy game plan into a fight, like, I think he could end up like, if Poatan's able to get up from under him, he can get up and realize like, oh shit, my muscles are zapped in a way that they're not usually. So, I guess there's a little bit of a risk there, but I think if I was a big Izzy fan, like I'd be like, yes, dude, fucking at least keep, like you said, at least keep threatening it and have him thinking about the potential takedown to try and open up some opportunities. But I'm going Poatan, you're going Adesanya. We'll see how it goes, man, and see how this.
We're both rooting for Pereira, though, to be fair. Like,
Yeah. Did you see that video of him cutting a promo in English? Pereira?
No, I didn't. But I did see a video of Izzy, like from an interview from like way back when he's like, "There's some fucking guy. He beat me. Yeah, so what? He's gonna be in some bar watching me win a fucking light heavyweight title and be double champ in the UFC." I mean, he's gonna be like, yeah, I fucking beat that guy back in the day, trying to get his cock sucked by some fucking crack whore. Oh. And then like the guy, they fucking clipped him falling over. I have to say, dude, it is rough, because it is like, I think it was an interview after his like 3rd fight, and it might have been before the Gastelum fight, where they're like, is there anything that you want to do, and is there any like regrets you have? And he's like, I do have one. And like he like brought it up, and he was talking like, this guy's never gonna fucking do shit. He's never gonna fucking find me. It's like, that like I remember I moved cities as a kid, And like I could just talk shit on all the guys from the other seat, like I beat that fucking guy's ass. He's a fucking pussy, blah blah blah. Because they were never gonna fucking talk to my friends. Like,
of course,
so like
he gets a new life.
So yeah, dude. But it was recorded, and then the guy fucking beat you, bad. So
tough look. Yeah, man. Talk about aging like milk. I didn't know that such footage existed of Adesanya saying those things.
I was watching it with my like eyes like, whoa, dude, why would you say that? And it was on a video on YouTube, and it sucks that I can't give the guys the props for making it, but it was like everybody's calling Izzy like the baby face, and to steal like WWE Valor, like Izzy's the baby face and Pereira's the heel in this, and he's the villain.
I disagree.
Yeah, right. But that's what this guy said. He's like, well, Pereira had to move to one of the craziest ghettos in the world to live better. Like, he worked in a tire shop as a kid. He had to beat alcoholism like at 15, and he like had to bust his ass to get to where he was. Adesanya had like servants in Africa. Like he had like a really good life. They moved to and like he was like he did it because he was bullied, and like he's had like a leg up his whole life. And Pereira really brought himself up from like straight up nowhere.
Yeah,
and, like he was an indigenous person in one of the like poverty stricken like parts of the world, and he's now the champion. Like. You know, and Adesanya is trying to make it seem like he was like this, you know, oh man, poor me, you know, and it's like, nah, dude, no. It's the other way around, dog.
Absolutely, yeah. Alex Pereira looks like a villain, and that's about it. I mean, this it's just based off of like stereotypes
by the cover,
yeah. All right, let's move on to this co-main event. At welterweight, Gilbert Burns at 21-5 is getting back in there, coming off of his really, really tough fight with Khamzat Chimaev. No, excuse me, I keep forgetting he fought Neil Magny also.
He kicked the living shit out of Neil Magny.
Yeah.
And I picked Neil Magny. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, weird one by you. But before that, he had a grueling fucking fight with Khamzat Chimaev where he came up short in that one. He is 3-2 in his previous 5. Still remains a top 5 UFC welterweight, and he's getting in there with George Gamebred Masvidal, who is coming off of 3 consecutive losses to Colby Covington, and then his 2 losses to Kamaru Usman. We haven't seen Gamebred in a year. Yeah, it was about a year ago when he fought Colby Covington. We know he's been embroiled in this whole lawsuit where Colby was suing him for sucker punching him in the street and ambushing him. And
did you see that whole thing? I'm sorry to cut you off like right in the middle, but just while you're bringing that up, they're like, is Colby gonna fight Edwards? And he's like, he can't. They're like, what do you mean he can't? And Masvidal's like, well, his whole fucking, I'm facing all these felonies and I'm facing these lawsuits because he says I gave him brain damage. Who the fuck's gonna fucking sanction a fight with a guy that has brain damage?
I mean,
so he's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, shit.
I
didn't think about that.
Yeah, I saw that exactly, and he kind of sounds like he's implying that no charges have been dropped, and that's still an ongoing thing. And I mean, yeah, if you're George Masvidal and he's taking that fight, like, you should be kind of relieved, I guess, because it does muddy the waters a bit if the case is, you know, alleged brain damage. Yeah, you can't go into a fucking MMA fight and then still be like, yes, any brain damage is still the fault of George Masvidal's one punch and not the potential like 30 to 50 punches that, you know, I might take, you know, from Leon Edwards. So yeah, weird situation. The Dana coming out and giving the title shot to Colby probably takes a little bit of the luster off of this fight, because a lot of people are probably looking at this and saying that, I mean, I wouldn't agree, but a lot of people are probably thinking that George Masvidal is potentially in play if he manages to get a big win over Gilbert Burns this weekend. Like I said, I still think that would be ridiculous, but I think he needs more to do.
He doesn't have a win over anyone that's active in this weight class. He does not have a win over anyone that is active in the UFC. Like Darren Till's gone. I keep forgetting. There's like anyone that he's beat is just not on the roster anymore.
Yeah, Nate Diaz is gone. Ben Askren retired. Darren Till not with the company anymore. Donald Cerrone retired. Jake Ellenberger either retired or not with the company anymore. Yeah, you said it was like 2013.
That's a long time.
James Krause not with the company anymore. Darren Cruikshank and Pat, not with the company anymore. Michael Chiesa, yeah, there it is. Boom. Back to 2013. This is, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but this is the problem I have with. I get that the UFC has to make decisions that are going to be more for the entertainment side of things, but this whole hanging on to Colby and Masvidal and just kind of injecting them into any way they can into the title picture at welterweight, I just feel so short-sighted. Like, I know there's been other cases where there's been egregious like title shots being given out, like Bisping when he defended his title against Dan Henderson, who was not deserving of a title shot at middleweight at the time. Like, I get it, these things have happened, and it doesn't really surprise me either, but I just wish that they would recognize the value of making these guys fight in their divisions. Like, just trust that other guys could have good performances against Masvidal, and even if Masvidal loses, like, put some effort into marketing the guy who beats them. But I mean, there's a reason that they are valued at $12 billion, and I'm just a guy with 22 followers on YouTube for my MMA podcast. So
it's rising though. It's rising.
It's going up. Yeah. No, we're in our I don't know, what phase would you call this? Anyways, Gilbert Durinho Burns, though.
I'm pretty close to doing heroin, so guys, come on. Help us out here.
Let's save Brandon. How do you picture this fight going down between Gilbert Burns and George Masvidal?
Gilbert is going to end this guy's career. He's going to retire. Masvidal's going to retire.
That's something
Gilbert is going to absolutely pull this guy's arms off and beat him to death with them.
That's something that I forgot to mention also, is that now Masvidal has been saying that this could be, if he loses this fight, this could be the end for him. I think that might be a little bit of dramatics on his part, but I mean, we'll see. I could also see that because he would be on a 4-fight losing streak, and the UFC cannot justify giving him like some bullshit title eliminator fight at that point. Like, they will force him to fight down in the rankings, and it doesn't seem like Masvidal gets out of bed for that anymore. Anybody below like a Gilbert Burns, like Masvidal, it would be so fucking dope if they could get him to fight a guy like Shavkat and give an up and cover the rub off of getting a win off of Masvidal, but I don't think he's going to let that happen. Interesting that you mentioned that Gilbert Burns is going to take his arm or one of his limbs home with him. I see that going down also. But what do you think about Gilbert Burns' ability to actually get Masvidal down? Do you think that we might be sleeping on Masvidal's wrestling defense a little bit? Because Gilbert Burns isn't like some standout wrestler.
I think anywhere that MMA takes place in a cage, Gilbert Burns is just so much better
superior
right now. Masvidal, hey, great career, dude. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being here for the Miami card. Love you, dude. See what happens with Trump and all that. Hopefully he gives you your spot that you want so bad. Great, dude. Good for you. Gilbert Burns, have you seen fucking footage of this guy training, dude?
Yeah.
Insane. Did you see him on that VersaClimber? Did you see that? He was training on this machine called the VersaClimber. Have you heard of this machine?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Dude, the way he was fucking, like, that thing is insane. That thing, like, I can do like maybe 3. I'm not saying I'm no fucking, Ultimate Warrior, but I can fucking, I have pretty good wind.
A Kurt Hennig, maybe a Mr. Perfect, a Kurt Hennig back in the day.
Yeah, I might be a Dusty Rhodes. I'm more of a Dusty Rhodes guy, but he was fucking just going crazy, and that it was like a 10-second training clip of him on Countdown, and I'm like, whoa, Masvidal's dead, dude, because it's like Masvidal holding guns at his house and like fucking like in a sauna, and then you just see some fucking savage doing Ivan Drago workouts, and he's not just like any type of savage, he's fucking like world class level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
yes,
like top of the absolute top, and he fucking took. He has a chin made of, I don't know what the fuck his chin's made out of. He fucking handled all the wrestling from Hamza Chimaev. He was game as fuck. There's no chance. Dude, I am scared for Jorge Masvidal. I'm fucking scared. I think that Gilbert wants to win the title. Gilbert is a legit title contender with Usman out now. The guys that are there don't have the matchups are way better for Gilbert now that Usman's out of the picture. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. So he can see it. It's there. He's training. He's in his fucking prime. I don't see anything that this is not even. I think this is exactly like what we saw with No Magny. It's going to be just like that, if not worse.
Interesting that you say that he's in his prime. Gilbert Burns is 36 years old. He's a little bit older than I thought he was, but still, George Masvidal is 38 years old. So I'm not concerned about anybody having like the age advantage here.
You said interesting. Like, you're stupid for saying that. I'm not stupid for saying that. He's in his prime, dude. Come on.
I think he might be in his prime because of circumstance. You know what I mean? But whereas I think that the division was a little bit more even. There was other guys with his kind of ability in the division. I don't know. But I just don't know how much longer he's going to be in his prime. But I mean, 36 for welterweight. I guess I could see welterweights getting into their prime at 36. It's not like a super small division where 37 starts to be kind of ancient for the lighter weight classes.
Crazy amount of punches through his 20s. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, he's only been finished.
The mileage is a lot different. And not saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't crazy strenuous and hard, especially what the levels that he's been through, but he's not like he's been taking straight punches to the liver and to the head, and not even just the fights, but the training and everything you go through.
Yeah, he's had a pretty long career, but he's only been finished by strikes to Dan Hooker back in 2018. He lost to punches there, and I think that is it as far as I can see. Oh no, Kamaru Usman, power jab to ground and pound. Power jab to ground and pound. So Kamaru Usman beat him via TKO, but that's also Kamaru Usman. That's when Kamaru Usman was in his prime. I think the only chance for George here, I agree. I'm just kind of like trying to throw some little feelers out there to make it interesting to talk about, because I think Gilbert Burns is every bit the minus 500 heavy favorite in this fight. I think George Masvidal's only chance might be if he's able to keep it standing, though. But even then, he needs to fight the perfect fight, because it takes a whole lot to get Gilbert Burns out of there, finish him via strikes. I'm not going to underrate George Masvidal's potential defensive wrestling, only because he has the guys at American Top Team to develop very good defensive wrestling if he's putting the work in. He's in the room. He's got Gamrot out there. He's got Yaroslav Amosov from Bellator. Fucking Bo Nickel, Arman Sarukian trains over there. There are guys there who he can go with if he really wants to round out that part of his game. Do I think that he's actually doing it? No, not necessarily. But I mean, if he really wanted to leave no stone unturned for this fight with Gilbert, but like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you. I think this is Gilbert Burns' fight all day, and I do hope he does it by submission.
Yeah, I think Gilbert. They might as well be. Gilbert might as well be, as far as for like the mileage he has on his body, his head, everything else, he might as well be 24. And the mileage that Masvidal has, because he's been doing this. What's that, bro?
No, go on.
You're fucking laughing at me.
No, not. Oh, I mean,
no, the mileage.
You really took.
Okay, let's stop and okay. Why are we laughing?
You really took my like. Oh, you're saying he's in his prime thing. You took that personal.
Yeah, I did. I took that personally because I know you. You're a snarky fuck, and you go. Oh, it's interesting that you say he's in his prime. He's actually click 36 and Masvidal's 38. But okay.
I'm not wearing my glasses right now, but if I was, that would have been a major glasses adjustment moment. Let me
explain to you. Jorge Masvidal's been fighting in fucking backyards, fucking with no gloves since he's fucking 19. Gilbert Burns has been rolling with a gi on. And, you know, which is hard as fuck, dude. It's hard training, but he wasn't, I don't think he was like legit just going through his teens and 20s, getting fucking popped in the mouth every other day, even in training. So I feel like his prime, and so he's athletically so much better than Masvidal. And then his mind, where he's at in his head is way different. Jorge's, I guarantee you, Jorge, deep down in his soul, in his mind, he's saying, like, I just don't want to lose bad. I just don't want that Usman knockout again, where, like, fucking sweat's flying off of me. Where Masvidal or Gilbert's saying, I'm so fucking close to another title, and I can fucking do it. So his mind, everything is just way over on Gilbert's side.
I wholeheartedly agree with your with what you're saying about like where George Masvidal's head is probably at this point.
Careful when you make fun of me like that.
No, because it took a long time for this fight to get made. It sounded like Gilbert Burns was really trying to land this George Masvidal fight for a long time, and you have to imagine that George Masvidal was really weighing the pros and cons, because I think he is at a stage in his career where he is just about maximizing how much money that he can make, and taking losses to a guy like Gilbert Burns, who is not on a lot of people's radar, or is not a big a fighter with a lot of casual appeal. It does nothing for George Masvidal at this point. So yeah, I think he's probably just thinking, like, don't get absolutely ran over, please. That's probably, I mean, it's probably kind of fucked up for us to pretend to think like we know what's going on in George Masvidal's head, but yeah, I think that's where I would be if I was in his position.
If I was in his position, I was like, I just do not want to get sweat like that. That was iconic, dude. When the way Usman knocked him the fuck out like that, was wild. Like, shut the fuck up. I was like, dude, goddamn, he was out. He was like out, like bad. That was a karma for Ben Askren for sure. And he got some of those super necessary follow-up shots too. He sure did. Yes. All right, let's run through the rest of the card like really quick and super speed, because we're about an hour and 17 minutes, so we won't necessarily give full breakdowns, but we'll kind of just go and make our picks, talk about how exciting we were. I think the third fight on the card, or the third fight down from the main event, bantamweight Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez, is a fucking amazing fight. This is going to be a boxing treat. Both guys are tremendous boxers. Rob Font coming off of his two loss losing streak, looking pretty brutal losses too.
Yeah, and losses where he was winning, and but he ate the heavier shots, and that turned the tide of those fights. And he's coming against the young up and comer. Although he's 16-3, so he's not that much of an up and comer. But in terms of the difference in competition that he's faced, night and day compared to the guys Rob Font has been in there with. Adrian Yanez, who's just looked spectacular, put the finishing touches on Tony Kelly in his last fight, and before that he got it done against Davey Grant, Randy Costa. Really good record, but a lot of difference in terms of the strength of schedule and the level of competition that he's been facing. How do you see this one going? Who are you making a pick for here? Rob Font or Adrian?
I think Yanez wins by decision.
By decisions, you can see it going the distance. I am really rooting for Yanez. I think that Man, it's pretty close to a pick 'em for me, because when Yanez, we've seen him in trouble a little bit. Randy Costa was kind of giving him some fits and was getting the better of him in their fight until he turned it around. I think he's really good at finding ways to win, and at the end of the day, the trouble that Rob Font can give him is exactly the kind of trouble that Adrian Yanez can figure out on the fly and get going in the fight. Even if Rob Font has his moments and is able to hurt Yanez a bit, like we've seen him adjust from that. And at the end of the, like, Rob Font is also a boxer. You know what I mean? He's going to be playing a game that Adrian Yanez is good at. So I could see Rob Font winning this just the same. Like I said, I think it's kind of a pick 'em. I think Rob Font can really rely on his experience here. But I'm really rooting for Adrian Yanez. I think he's the more exciting fighter, and I think they have a similar ceiling. Aside from the fact that Yanez is a bit younger in this game and still has probably a bit more years ahead of him compared to Rob Font. Might end up looking pretty similar once he starts facing some of the guys that Rob Font has faced, though. But I'm with you there. I'm all in on Adrian Yanez. We'll see how that goes. In the next fight, Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Did you see Kevin Holland trying to convince Santiago Ponzinibbio to just miss weight with him earlier today?
No, I did not see that. No, what the hell?
Yeah, he posted on Instagram. I forgot what the image even was, but he basically in the caption said, "Hey, dog, let's just both not cut weight." Fuck that. Yeah, he's like, dude, there's too much good food in Miami. Fuck it. Let's just both agree to miss weight and just enjoy ourselves. And if I were Santiago Ponzinibbio, I would be going in there ready to fucking kill now, because you kind of know where Kevin Holland's mind is at if he's begging you, like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and how does Kevin Holland miss weight? He does not look like he's got any weight on him.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, because the times that where we've seen him at middleweight, he doesn't look like he's big enough for middleweight. So, yeah, interesting. I guess he just doesn't want to put the work in. I think he's kind of the guy. Kevin Holland has kind of tasted fame. He's got a little taste of superstardom, you know, like he has the personality and the kind of charisma that can really take him far in the UFC, but really isn't able to kind of like back it up with his performances in the cage. And in some cases he can. When he wins, he wins emphatically. Like he really has some highlight reel.
He has some
wins.
Highlight reel shit. Yeah,
but you know, I think it's kind of starting to show, or maybe this all could just be a show for him to get attention too. I mean, here we are talking about him when I said we're just going to speed through these picks, so that might be a factor too. He might be playing a little bit of mind games, but he's 23-9, getting in there with the 29-6 Santiago Ponzinibbio. Santiago should be a guy who should be. What he brings to the fight, I think he's going to want to strike with Kevin Holland, and I think that's exactly what Kevin Holland wants. So I think Kevin Holland has a good shot in this one, but it's a little bit of a chaos factor with the whole let's miss weight thing. It makes me want to switch my pick over to Santiago Ponzinibbio pretty comfortably. What about you?
I'm still going to take Kevin Holland. I was a big Ponzinibbio fan, maybe like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Kevin Holland can spark him. I think Ponzinibbio is going to be a little too hittable for Holland. He's going to catch him.
I hear that. Yeah, man, I'm tripping out. Interesting. I don't know if this is a typo or what, but on Tapology, they have Santiago Ponzinibbio as the 113th ranked middleweight in the world versus Kevin Holland, who's at number 24. So I wonder if that's a mistake.
Yeah. Ponz hasn't looked great. And isn't he taking this on short notice, right? Am I tripping?
I can check that right now. Let me see.
Hey, can I take a piss real quick?
Sure.
Can I go take a piss? Okay, thank you.
I'll pause it. He's back.
You're frozen for a while on me, so I can't when I left. So.
Oh, okay. Good. Glad we're not anymore. I've been having some internet troubles, man. The last time we recorded was the worst day of it, and then it was for a few days after that. It was kind of floundering, but I think we're generally back to normal. Last one, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. Who are you picking here? I don't know if you've ever seen Christian Rodriguez fight. I have not, but...
I have not. I've seen highlights before this just so I didn't look stupid. And it's like, damn, they really think a lot of Rosas to give him this guy, because his Rodriguez's highlights are pretty good. So, and it's what you can take out of highlights. Like, of course, it's put together to make a splash, to make him look cool as fuck. But if Rosas dominates this guy like the way he has dominated up to now, then he's for sure like, okay, this is fucking serious. This isn't a joke. You know what I mean? So.
I'm convinced that Raul Rosas is going to be a standout grappler at this point. I'm convinced of that. I think he's going to stay a factor. I mean, this experience can't be bad for him. You know, as long as he keeps winning in the UFC, I know that, you know, they're giving him guys. They're appropriately matched fights with guys with similar records. You know, this is 7-0 versus 8-1, and I think that, you know, I forgot who was telling me, but jiu-jitsu in Mexico is exploding in popularity, or has been exploding in popularity.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently there's like a jiu-jitsu gyms popping up all over the place on every fucking corner. So I think that Raul Rosas Jr. might kind of be like our live look into that growth. And I'd be pretty stoked if he ends up being like a specialist, you know, Mexican jiu-jitsu fighter. I think that's great, and I think he's probably emboldened by, you know, 3 Mexican-born fighters holding belts right now. Granted, one's an interim in Yair Rodriguez, but I don't. Yeah, but same. I haven't even watched any highlights of Christian Rodriguez, so I have no idea what he brings to the table. But I think I know what Raul Rosas Jr. is going to try and do, and I hope he does it. I think he's an exciting fighter. You know, I was kind of thinking like, okay, they're just bringing him in so they can say they got the youngest fighter ever to get a cheap headline. But he's certainly a good fighter, and I think that if they kind of like groom him appropriately, then he can grow into something special. But he's in a deep bantamweight division, though. So either way, he's still got his work cut out from him, and we'll probably see him take a loss sooner than later. But it's part of the growing process. As long as people don't jump off the bandwagon for his first loss, and you know, they should know that they won't forget, you know, he's their experiment still. But 18 versus 25 years in this one, so I didn't even realize that Christian Rodriguez was that much older than him.
18 sounds so well. Fuck. 25 is young in MMA.
Yeah. That's an exciting one. Okay, cool. So we will start to wrap this one up, but I did want to mention your boy. We'll give a shout out to Li Jingliang, who had to pull out from this card.
Oh, terrible,
with a fucking.
This is absolutely terrible. That gut wrenching, dude.
Spine injury.
Because it was Li Jingliang. It was Li Jingliang and
Michael Chiesa. Right? No, Michael.
Oh, Chiesa. Correct. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he had to withdraw. Will probably need surgery, and we wish him the best. I know he's one of your favorite fighters, and we'll see how that goes.
Terrible. I felt when I saw that X-ray, I was like, oh fuck, dude.
It's rough, man. And he said he tried to power through it. Like, this man literally considered fighting with a broken spine, which is heartbreaking. You know. I hope it's not because he needed money, but yeah, I'm glad he made the right call. And well, it sounds like he wasn't even able to, even if he did still intend to power through it. So all the best to Li Jingliang. I hope that he gets the surgery and everything goes well, and we see him back in action whenever he's fully recovered from that spinal injury. Yeah, and that will wrap up this episode of the Fight Plug podcast. Thanks again, as always, for joining me, Brandon. Glad we got to talk about some sports scandals at the top of the episode. That was really fun. We got to do that again. Maybe we'll do.
I got a couple of those in me. If we ever get little, you know, need to fucking put some time together or something. Also, Joe Pyfer on this one against Gerald Meerschaert.
Gerald Meerschaert, yeah,
a good one.
That's a great one. That's a big test for Joe Pyfer, in my opinion. Gerald Meerschaert, criminally underrated, as a guy who was underrated by me for a long time too, because I saw him get knocked out by Khamzat Chimaev, and I totally underrated him after that, and just didn't think he was anything special.
He got folded the fuck up,
straight lamped. But he's a real serious submission threat. So Joe Pyfer, he's got his work cut out for him. That's one to not miss from the preliminary card for sure. All right, folks, if you enjoyed this episode of The Fight Plug, as usual, please consider liking, subscribing, ringing the bell, all that fun stuff so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And until then, we will see you next week for our recap of UFC 287. Have a good one.
Good night, folks.